Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today we are talking about the TIE Starfighter. Now, the TIE Fighter is one of the most iconic Star Wars ships out there, and this is its older brother. This is the original TIE, Twin Ion. Uh, uh, yeah. Um, all right. Yeah, Twin Ion Engine Starfighter. All right. My mind is blanking here on the E. Okay. So we're used to seeing the TIE IN. So that was the TIE Interceptor, the original TIE slash Interceptor. That's what we saw in the New Hope, and uh, going forward, with the nice flat wings on the outside. The original TIE Fighter had, as you can see on the screen, kind of curved wings a little bit. So that design is a holdover for like when we see Vader, or we have the TIE bombers that came later and all that stuff. So what we have is this is the original forerunner to what we see for all the other variants that we have. Um, all right. Unfortunately, trying to find information on the old original TIE Starfighter, where this originally comes from, is from the old original Star Wars source book. We really don't have a huge backstory. I am looking here on Wikipedia, so if this really does interest you even further, there is a nice write up here on Wikipedia. I know I've got to have more in some of the old source books, but trying to figure out exactly which source book it's in gets a little harder to find. Um, Stat wise, I have stats in the old source book here, and going through this, let's see. The TIE Starfighter was meant for escorting fleets, provide reconnaissance patrol, disputed space, and support ground troops engaged in smuggling and pirating and hunting down rebels. Uh, to many space pilots, TIE fighters, rather than Star Destroyers, symbolize the true might of the Empire. Few ships ever face a Star Destroyer, but TIE fighters were everywhere. The TIE Fighter was designed and built by Republic Sinar Systems, renamed Sinar Fleet Systems after the Galactic Empire had taken it over. Renowned as one of the finest combat spacecraft design firms in the galaxy from the onset, TIE fighters were produced in mass quantities. Uh, the Sinar Fleet Systems continues to produce uh, large numbers for the empire. However, production has recently slowed as resources have been diverted to the Death Star programs. Um, Easily recognized by their hexagonal solar power panels, the TIE fighters employ a unique propulsion system. Ionized gases are accelerated to a substantial fraction of sublight or of light speed in microparticle accelerators. The fast moving particles are emitted from the rear vents, propelling the craft forward. Since TIE fighters use their propulsion mass extremely efficiently, they carry limited fuel supplies. As a result, twin ion engine designs achieve high thrust with relatively low mass. The reason for the TIE fighter's vaulted speed and maneuverability, um, at full power, the twin ion engine uh, fighter uh, are faster than most commercial spacecraft, and and a match for any of the top of the line starfighter, including the T-65, which is the X-wing. So, um, there are many different variants, and we're going to hit a lot of them throughout the time of doing this series. Um, so when we look at this, and because this comes out as a chart, um, So really, what we get is we get the Thai Starfighter, then the Thai IN, and then there's the Thai RC, Thai FC, Thai GF. These are all variants before they started splitting things up and making like the Thai bomber and all that stuff as things progress, much like what we do in our current military today. We try one thing, yeah, it works pretty well, but we need something a little bit more specialized, so we go from there. They love the idea. Um, they could carry these in racks. They could also land them onto the deck floor. So there's the versatility there. Um, so the original Thai is a little weaker or a little slower. Same maneuverability. We have the same hull as what we did in the Thai IN. Uh, Weaponry wise, it only has one double laser cannon instead of two laser cannons, so it's a slight difference. The damage that it did. Now that's where things kind of come in. It was a weaker starfighter. Now, when we go into more of the history of this, the Thai could be traced back to a courier design by Wraith Sinier's Sinar design systems before 32 BBY, the ship which became Darth Maul's scimitar. Although the scimitar was a large, sophisticated runner rather than a combat mass produced starfighter, the next stage was the Advanced Project ship, a starfighter prototype design, the latest and smallest of which Senior was building in 29 BBY. So this is really the bridge gap ship. When you leave um, Revenge of the Sith, and it was done kind of purposely. Now we didn't have Tie fighters in there, but we had the V wing. Okay, the V wing getting smaller, more compact. But if you ever listen to the engines, they gave it the same sound as your Tie fighter, and it had that V design on the side that's getting closer and closer to what we have with our Tie fighters. Um, and of course, then after that, we start getting the TIE fighters, something a little bit cheaper to mass produce, things that can go out there because we put military bases everywhere to help control the galaxy. Um, it would be another 7 years, however, before the Senior revealed the final component of the TIE design. The SIE TIE twin ion engine, a powerful and highly innovative propulsion unit which was officially endorsed by the Republic Senior Systems shortly before the First Battle of Geonosis and the outbreak of the Clone Wars. This paved the way for the final starfighter design, um, and it meant that the Republic Senior Systems was well prepared when the Republic called for a new standard mass production starfighter during the Clone Wars. Um, the TIE production went underway as part of a drive by the Republic Navy to standardize their starfighter capacity and create fighters that could deploy in the limited space available aboard existing warships, like the Dreadnought class and the Carrack class cruisers. Although the new design or engine design was incompatible with established hyperdrive, life support, and shield systems, the TIE was incredibly cheap, very fast, and could stack tightly in converted cargo holds or, externally launched racks aboard the Navy's existing line of combat ships. By the first weeks of the new order, the TIE fighters, already known in front-line personnel as TIE fighters, were deployed aboard ships such as the Victory class Star Destroyer um, Strike Fast, which we get from the expanded universe. By this time, the original TIE had evolved into the TIE Starfighter, which would later be supplanted by the TIE LN Starfighter, the dominant starfighter model of the Galactic Empire. Actually, I don't think it's supposed to be the LN. It's supposed to be the IN. Somebody kind of did this on the Wikipedia. Um, so that's it for the nuts and bolts. And in the series, we do have TIE Starfighter, which was one of the um, all right, Emperor's Royal Guard. It's kind of debuted in, as well as being, let's see, um, they're going through a lot of different books and other stuff. I'm trying to see really the source book is where we really get all this stuff, and it was brought up in the role playing game. Uh, the source book was which is where I've got it here. Um, Source book for second edition, Essential Guide to Vehicles and Vessels. That's the one I was missing, and I knew we kind of went through this. Um, So as we look here, we do have the picture. Now this is a little bit more iconic. If you notice, this does not, from the appearance, this does not have the wings that clamshell shut. There are later variants that may do that, but not on the original base Starfighter. Now this is only 6.3 meters long. Um, Again, this is going to be the common thing throughout all pretty much all TIE starfighters. In the original, before Disney got it and we were doing other things, you really needed to have a dedicated spacesuit that you were enclosed in order to pilot these. There is no uh, real comforts. I mean, it was mass produced to be dirt cheap. To include into there, the bottom portion actually comes off, and that's the engine. So the beauty of this is this bottom unit actually slides off, and I don't have a picture of this. It's something I didn't think of. I'll try to do this in one of the next ones when we hit more to the TIE fighters. Probably we may hit the TIE IN, and I'll try and have a picture because there is a piece that comes off. That is your engine module itself. So in servicing these, it becomes very quick and easy. All you have to do is take that off, put it down. You could throw another one on there. That fighter is ready to go, and you can service your ion engine, which is a self-contained unit. So it has all of its fuel capacity and everything else in there. The solar panels, so to say, your type, your wing solar panels help speed everything up, add additional um, power nap for like your weapon systems and everything else here. So we have just a crew of one. Cargo capacity, yes, we do see it in Rebels where there is enough room right behind a seat. It's not intended for it. It's not another seat, but there is enough room. You can probably carry an extra person in there. There is consumables for 2 days, but remember you're going to be wearing your flight suit, which is fully enclosed. So there again, it's not going to be very comfortable. Maneuverability is 2D, which is decent. Space is an 8, so we're going 1,050 kilometers an hour. We have a hull of 2D. Passively, because these are not meant for doing big searches and all that, if they are searching for things, they're doing it in groups. Okay, so it's not just one sensor packet, you're going to have multiple sensor packets. And typically, in most military doctrines, you'll never really find one TIE fighter. Typically, it's two. So um, you'll have a flight of, I think if you say this correctly, I think it's a flight of two. Now, anyone in the Navy and the Air Force that can say this better, you know, when I was mechanized infantry, we did the same thing with our tracks. So I thought it was really interesting that, we don't want to go in any smaller than a group of two, but typically we're in a group of four. So for a platoon, for me, we have four tracks. We underground are mimicking the same thing you're doing up in the sky. We want to have two units there, two fighters. For me, it was two APCs. So we're doing the same thing. So passively, we can go out and we can search 2 kilometers. We can scan 4 kilometers. Search here is 6 kilometers out, and focus is 300 meters. So we do have the double laser cannon. So this works differently. They work. The cannon itself works hand in hand. Okay, so it's always going to be shooting one at a time. Okay, so if that makes it doesn't shoot both at the same time. It's not 2 separate guns shooting at the same time. Almost like as one does a cooldown, the other one goes, and then it just keeps alternating back and forth. So with a double laser cannon like that, it does that on purpose so that way it doesn't overheat the system. But it only has a damage of 3D. So in the game, it is a little less underpowered compared to most other fighters. But as a mass produced ship, and the fact that they're running around in big groups, they can overwhelm an enemy very quickly. And that is the big tactic of our TIE fighters. The fact that they go out in big groups and they can overwhelm things. So, you think about it as one mosquito by itself isn't all that bad, but if you get into a swarm of mosquitoes, people are suddenly just trying to run for their lives because they don't want to keep getting bit and bit and bit. So that's where it really comes down to being used tactically. It's not just a single one. If you see one, there's got to be more out there, and that's where the fear comes in. And like what we had read in the Wikipedia, and it is the same tactics that get kind of brought up in some of the source books as well. You know, because the Galactic Empire put military bases everywhere, and then they always have a bunch of these out there. So on a small base, you might have 12, but are there going to be multiple bases? And then there's also going to be smaller ships. Now we always see the Star Destroyers, but like I was said in our thing, most people don't see Star Destroyers all that often. They might see smaller support vessels. um, but even the small support vessels could be carrying a couple of these as well as having um, a small fleet of these on the ground. So, uh, and it doesn't take all that long to get them up and going. So they're pretty much ready to go almost immediately, and then you're gone. Um, so in those regards, that's where the lethality of these really come from, and why they are so revered and so hated by so many pirate groups and all that stuff. It's not that one single one is going to hurt you. It's just the fact that if you see the one, there's probably a bunch out there. For those of us out in the Midwest, you think of it, if you see one deer crossing the road, you're usually looking, where's the other one? Because there's usually another one. It's the same thought. There's got to be more out here, and I really don't want to take a chance of getting swarmed by a bunch of TIE fighters. Um, and that's where it kind of comes down to. So I'm glad to have you here today. Hope you have a wonderful day. It is May the 4th, so may the force be with us all. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.